All right, let's jump right in. Have you ever thought about music as a time machine? The musician Erkan Oğur did. He said that's exactly what it is. And you know what? Today, we're going to take that machine for a spin. We are going on a quest to find the oldest song in the entire world.
And this isn't just a simple trip. We're going to travel through thousands of years of human history, and actually way, way beyond that. The goal here is to completely reframe how you think about a song. It's not just art, you see. It's something much deeper. A fundamental code that has literally shaped life, memory, and, well, our reality itself. So, the big question, what is the oldest song in the world? Well, to even begin to answer that, we've got to start with the first real physical clues our ancestors left for us, the very first pieces of music that were ever actually written down.
All right, so let's talk about the first written songs. We're talking clues in clay and stone, and we have some incredible physical proof. Take this Psycholos epitaph from Greece. It was carved into a tombstone about 2,000 years ago, and the message on it is just timeless. It says, "As long as you live, shine." Wow.
But check out this timeline. What's so wild about this is that long before we find the oldest song that was written down, we find the oldest complex instruments. I'm talking about these magnificent lyres of Ur. They were buried in a royal tomb a full 1,000 years before anyone even thought to etch sheet music into a piece of clay. Think about that. It turns out the oldest songs weren't about epic battles or praising gods. Nope. They were about a feeling that every single one of us still shares. A brilliant Sumeriologist, Muazzez Ilmiyetu, she argues that the very first song was almost definitely a lullaby, and she points to this 5,000-year-old Sumerian lullaby of Shulgi as basically the first recorded communication between a mother and her child. It doesn't get more primal than that, does it? And her point is just so profound. She says, feelings have never changed. People loved, felt jealous, sad, angry, the whole shebang. Technology changes, right? Empires rise, they fall, but those core emotions that drive our music, love, sadness, hope, those are the exact same feelings people were pouring into their songs 5,000 years ago. Nothing has changed on that front.
Okay, so to find even older songs, we have to go further back. We have to leave the written word completely behind and travel way, way deeper into the past. We're talking about a time when our ancestors were making music with bone, with stone, and with the very caves they called home.
And the instruments they find from this period are just astonishing. I mean, we've got lithophones, musical stalactites played in caves over 100,000 years ago. And get this, it wasn't even unique to our species. Archaeologists have found these incredible bone flutes that suggest Neanderthals had their own rich musical culture long before Homo sapiens were the only humans on the block. How cool is that?
So what this really means, as one archaeologist put it, is that the cultural spaces were born in the caves as one. So think about it. The world's first art galleries were also the world's first concert halls. They were these unified spaces where art, music, ritual, and storytelling, it was all woven together as part of the same single essential human experience.
But this is where our journey takes a really dramatic turn. We're about to move from thinking about music as just sound to something way more complex and profound. The idea of a song as a living, breathing code for reality itself. So let me ask you this. What if a song could be a map, a history book, and a legal code all at the same time? I know, it sounds like a riddle, but this isn't hypothetical. This is the reality of Australian Aboriginal songlines. It's a vast and ancient library of knowledge that has been passed down for thousands upon thousands of years, entirely through song. And the amount of information packed into these songs is just staggering. We're talking geographical maps, calendars, tribal law, a whole encyclopedia of the local ecology. And here's a mind-blowing example. Some songlines accurately describe the rise in sea levels after the last ice age. That's an event that completely reshaped the Australian continent over 10,000 years ago. And that memory, it survives, perfectly preserved in a song. 70,000 years. Let that sink in for a second. That number, it represents the sheer incredible scale of this living archive. This isn't just ancient history in a book. It's a continuous, unbroken oral tradition stretching back 70 millennia. It is, by far, the oldest living culture on Earth. So for these cultures, what is the whole point of being human? It's simple. Sing. Because by singing the roads, singing the mountains, you keep the world alive. Singing isn't just entertainment, it's a fundamental responsibility. It's the human job to literally sing the world into existence, to maintain the very fabric of reality by passing on the song, the code. And that incredible idea, song as a living code, that's what leads us to the final, and I think most profound answer in our whole quest. It's an answer that takes us way, way beyond human history. Okay, check this out. On one side, you have songlines, a cultural code. On the other, you have DNA, a biological code. When you compare them, the parallel is just stunning. Both store vast amounts of information, both are transmitted across generations, and both define identity and survival. They are both, in their own way, a kind of song passed down through time.
So after all this, we find our answer. The oldest song in the world? It isn't human. It's not a lullaby, it's not a hymn carved in stone. It's the 3.8 billion-year-old melody of life itself, written in the four-note code of DNA. It is the primordial song that every single one of us carries inside our own cells.
So our journey's taken us from DNA all the way to digital code. And it's shown us how song, in all its forms, is a code for connection. But this raises a really troubling paradox, doesn't it? As we've created more and more complex codes, digital, global, are we actually getting less connected?
I mean, think about this. Muazzez Ilmiya, the woman who translated humanity's very first stories, who has seen 5,000 years of our evolution in how we communicate, she believes that humanity's single greatest problem is a lack of communication. Isn't that ironic?
And history, unfortunately, gives us a really chilling example of what happens when we fail to understand each other's code. The word is mokusatsu. And the fate of hundreds of thousands of people once hinged on the translation of this one single Japanese word, a word that has two tragically different meanings. See, in 1945, when Japan used this word in response to an Allied ultimatum, they meant it as withhold comment pending discussion. But it was translated and interpreted as to ignore with silent contempt. That single misinterpretation contributed to the decision to use the atomic bomb. A tragic, tragic failure in communication, a failure to truly listen, with absolutely catastrophic consequences.
So our quest for the oldest song, it's really shown us something incredible. That song, in its broadest, most beautiful sense, is the code that connects every single part of our existence. From our DNA to the lullabies we sing, from the ancient past all the way to our uncertain future.
And that brings this whole journey right back here, to us, right now, in a world that is just filled with more codes than ever, but maybe less real connection. The choice is ours. Which stories, which connections, which lullabies do we choose to pass on? So the real question is, what songs are you keeping alive?